If the thought leaders in the Democratic Party keep encouraging and not rebuking the idea that America is cringe and the people who run Gaza are great, the Democrats are doomed. Alyssa Slotkin's right. Liberals are weak and woke, especially the white ones, and they indulge all sorts of nonsense from their kids, a pattern that then continues on in the Democratic Party.
Bill Maher saw it coming. For years, he warned his own party. Stop the woke nonsense. Stop treating voters like idiots. Stop making everything about identity. They ignored him, called him a sellout, said he'd gone right. Then November 2024 happened. Democrats lost the White House, lost the Senate, lost the House, lost everything. And Maher didn't say I told you so. He said something worse. He said losers look in the mirror. Then he spent the next month systematically exposing exactly why Democrats are doomed to keep losing if they don't wake up. Tonight, I'm breaking down Maher's brutal diagnosis, the real data backing him up, and why his own party is treating him like a traitor for telling the truth. The worst part? Every prediction he made is coming true, and Democrats are doubling down on the exact behavior that destroyed them. Buckle up. This one cuts deep. Let's start with the moment everything crystallized. November 8th, 2024, the day after the election. Maher walked onto the set of Real Time, looked at his shell-shocked liberal audience, and said the words nobody wanted to hear. My message to the losers, losers, look in the mirror. The studio went silent. Not the usual laughter, not applause, dead silence, because everyone knew what he meant. Democrats spent months asking, how is this even close? They couldn't fathom losing.
1 in 4 Democrats under 30 say they're proud to be an American. 54% say they're embarrassed by it. Embarrassed? Like America's your mom picking you up at school? You're embarrassed to be an American? Well, guess what? The feeling's mutual, because you have no perspective. Is America perfect? No, of course not. No country is. But the U.S. is leagues ahead of the rest of the world on most of the progressive issues that are important to young people. America has 14 million women-owned businesses. 17% of black women are starting businesses, which is faster than white women or white men. Gay Americans are free to marry, and 49% of them own property. Yes, in America, gays buy buildings.
They'd convinced themselves victory was inevitable. Then reality hit, hard. Maher had been warning them, not just weeks before the election, years before. He told them their aggressively anti-common sense agenda was alienating regular Americans. He said woke politics was electoral poison. He begged them to stop making everything about race, gender, and pronouns. They didn't listen. And when the results came in, when the Republican candidate won decisively, carried every swing state, and made gains with black voters, Latinos, and even white women, Maher had the receipts. But here's what makes this different. Maher isn't some conservative talking head. He's a lifelong liberal. He voted for Kamala Harris. He supported Obama. He despises the Republican Party. But he refuses to lie about why his side lost. And that honesty made him public enemy number 1 among progressives who'd rather blame voters than look inward.
Catching on these days. At an AOC Bernie Sanders rally in Idaho last month, someone threw a Palestinian flag over an American flag, and the crowd erupted in approval. What should have happened after that is one of the adults on stage should have told their young, loyal followers, this is not a symbol of freedom. This is.
So what exactly did Maher say? Let's break it down. His core thesis is simple. Democrats became a bunch of privileged mean girls complaining about privilege and trying to make fetch happen. That's not just a Mean Girls reference. It's a diagnosis. Democrats keep pushing slogans, policies, and cultural battles that regular people don't care about, then act shocked when voters reject them. They're trying to make unpopular ideas popular through sheer force of will. It doesn't work. Maher pointed to specific polling that Democrats ignored,
If the thought leaders in the Democratic Party keep encouraging and not rebuking the idea that America is cringe and the people who run Gaza are great, the Democrats are doomed. Alyssa Slotkin's right. Liberals are weak and woke, especially the white ones, and they indulge all sorts of nonsense from their kids, a pattern that then continues on in the Democratic Party. Last election, it was all the gender stuff, the insistence that men can have babies and such, and now I fear that we like the terrorists is the new that. Liberals need to push back on the dumb ideas that come from their children.
A Democratic polling firm called Blueprint warned months before the election that black voters, supposedly the party's core base, were more likely to find the Biden administration too liberal than too conservative. Read that again. The people Democrats assumed would automatically support them actually thought they'd gone too far left. And instead of adjusting, Democrats doubled down. They made the campaign about protecting democracy and fighting fascism. Meanwhile, voters wanted to talk about groceries, gas prices, and border security. Here's where it gets painful. Maher said Democrats run for office as if the voters don't live here. What does that mean? It means Democrats campaign like Americans don't see reality with their own eyes. They tell people the economy is great when families are struggling. They say the border is secure when cities are overwhelmed. They claim anyone worried about crime is racist when people of all races are being victimized. That disconnect kills trust, and without trust, you lose elections. Maher also torched the identity politics obsession. He said, and this is crucial,
the Democrats' problem is the energy of the parties with the young and the young are with the terrorists. That's not good. So talk to your children and remind them you don't really want to live like your heroes in Hamas. All the you do all day, it was all made in America. Your smartphone, your Grubhub, your freedom to bitch about America, that's all American stuff. You tell your phone you want a milkshake and a guy brings it to your house. Please, you couldn't survive a week living in Intifadaville.
You can't just be woman, black person. The Republican candidate got 25% of black men. He crushed it with Latinos. Why? Because voters wanted more than demographic pandering. They wanted actual policy. They wanted someone who understood their concerns. Democrats assumed identity was enough. It wasn't. And the data backs Maher up. The Republican candidate improved his performance in 45 states compared to 2020. Even in deep blue areas like New York City, voters shifted right. That's not a fluke. That's a mandate. That's voters saying the Democratic platform doesn't work for them. But instead of listening, Democrats blamed racism and sexism. Maher destroyed that excuse. He pointed out that America elected Obama twice. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 3 million. The problem wasn't bigotry. The problem was the candidate and the message. Now let's talk about the woke issue. This is where Maher really unloads. He's been saying for years that woke culture is different from liberalism. Real liberals, in his view, want a colorblind society where everyone has equal opportunity. Woke activists put race at the front of everything, demand equal outcomes, and call anyone who disagrees a bigot. That's not progress. That's purity culture.
Democrats need to get their together because we need two parties in this country, and we desperately need the one that still concedes elections, doesn't sell the office, and doesn't want to completely switch out democratic rule of law for a rubber-stamped autocracy. But that party is so right now, and nothing to me symbolized that more than this video. Why do I say that? Well, let me put it this way. I don't know for a fact that this couple are Democrats. I just know it's true.
And Americans are sick of it. Maher gave specific examples. California created different alert systems for missing children based on race. Amber alerts for most kids, ebony alerts for black kids, feather alerts for Native American kids. Maher called it antiquated identity politics. And he's right. Voters don't want government treating people differently based on skin color, even with good intentions. They want one standard for everyone. But it's not just policy, It's attitude. Maher said Democrats act like they're the smart people who don't need to explain anything.
I knew they were Democrats for the same reason I knew this was a Democrat. You can't hide from the kiss cam, and you can't hide in the Oval Office. Damn, if only the lady at the Coldplay concert had brought some folders with her, maybe she wouldn't be in hot water today.
They talk down to voters. They assume moral superiority. They lecture instead of persuade. And when voters push back, Democrats call them ignorant or deplorable. That arrogance is fatal in politics because voters have the ultimate power. They can fire you. Maher also hit on education. He said, "You're the teachers' union education party, and you've turned schools and colleges into a joke. Test scores are plummeting."
The most beautiful symbol of freedom. When the people of Hong Kong stood up to China, they waved the American flag. Why? Because it's not just a beautiful flag. It is a symbol of hope and liberty. Today's divide in America, sadly, is not just about taxes or policy. The left resents this country. They're willing to embrace regimes that hate women, Christians, basic freedoms, because they share one thing: a hatred for America. Don't ever apologize for being proud of this country. You have a moral duty to be.
Kids are graduating without basic skills. And instead of fixing that, Democrats focused on gender ideology in classrooms and keeping schools closed during the pandemic. Parents noticed, and they voted accordingly. Then there's the trans issue. Maher walked a tightrope here. He supports trans rights. But he said Democrats went insane on trans athletes in women's sports. A Democratic congressman, Seth Moulton, said he didn't want his daughters run over by a formerly male athlete. His campaign manager resigned in protest. Maher's response: let that person go. Marginalize that guy. Because Moulton was expressing what most Americans believe. Biological males have physical advantages.
He appears to be an immigrant. I'm going to guess he's a legal immigrant. And that's the type of American you can be really, really proud of. And that's the type of people that we want here. Someone who loves this place, who understands this place, who doesn't want to come here and fundamentally alter it the way Zorhan Flamflami does. It's different. It's different. And we better really start understanding that. Do you think that Welch chick really loves America? Or does she want to burn it down? What do you think the Hamas guy over there wants to do? Or the Batman villain, or the rest of them? I mean, they tell you all the time, right? You don't have to believe me. Go see. You know, we always check it every year. Go see what they post on Memorial Day or on Labor Day or on Thanksgiving. And they never post an appreciation for this country. They never step back. Ilhan Omar should wake up every morning and get on her knees and look up at the flag and thank this country for taking her out of Somalia. But instead she has come here to burn it down.
Letting them compete against girls is unfair. But Democrats made disagreement a cancelable offense. So voters who agreed with Moulton voted Republican. And here's the data that should terrify Democrats. Maher cited polls showing Hispanic Americans are more supportive of border security than progressive white Americans. Black Americans are less worried about racism than progressive white Americans. In other words, the groups Democrats claim to represent don't agree with Democrats' priorities. Democrats are fighting battles their own voters don't want fought. That's political malpractice. Maher summarized it perfectly. Stop screaming at people to get with the program and instead make a program worth getting with. That line should be tattooed on every Democratic strategist's forehead, because right now, Democrats demand obedience. They don't offer persuasion. They tell voters what to think instead of earning their trust. And voters responded by giving Republicans total control. But Maher didn't stop there. He went after the patriotism problem. He cited a Harvard poll showing less than 1 in 4 Democrats under 30 say they're proud to be American. 54% say they're embarrassed. Compare that to Republicans. 76% of young Republicans are proud. Only 8% are embarrassed. Maher called this a serious problem because voters don't trust people who hate their country to run it. If you campaign on America being irredeemably racist, systemically oppressive, and fundamentally broken, Why would anyone vote for you to lead it? Maher's solution? Democrats need to retake the flag. They need to stop treating patriotism like it's a Republican value. They need to remind people that America, for all its flaws, is leagues ahead of most of the world on progressive issues. Women's rights, LGBTQ rights, racial equality. America isn't perfect, but it's made enormous progress. Democrats refuse to acknowledge that because victimhood is their brand. But victimhood doesn't win elections. And here's where Maher gets really controversial. He said Democrats need much more. Centrism, and to get rid of the woke baggage. He described himself as an old-school liberal who wants equality, not equity. Equality means everyone gets the same shot. Equity means government engineers outcomes. Voters reject equity. They see it as unfair. They see it as lowering standards. They see it as treating people like children, and they're right. Maher also said Democrats had opportunities to sister soldier the far left. That's a reference to Bill Clinton publicly rebuking a radical rapper in 1992 to show he wasn't beholden to extremists. Democrats could have done that in 2024. They could have condemned defund the police. They could have rejected open borders. They could have admitted men and women are biologically different. But they didn't. They were too afraid of offending progressives, so they lost moderates and independents instead. And the consequences? Maher laid them out. Democrats lost the presidency. They lost the Senate. They lost the House. They have a 6-3 conservative Supreme Court. They have zero institutional power at the federal level. They're locked out for years. And instead of adjusting, progressives are purging moderates. Seth Moulton got attacked for common sense. Other Democrats who suggested moving to the center got called sellouts. The party is cannibalizing itself. Maher predicted this will continue. He said Democrats will lose the next one too if they don't change. Because nothing in their behavior suggests they learned anything. They're still blaming voters. They're still calling people racist for disagreeing. They're still pushing policies 70% of Americans oppose. And they're still convinced moral righteousness equals political success. It doesn't. Here's the data Maher didn't mention, but should terrify Democrats. A YouGov poll found 57% of Americans believe political correctness played a role in the election. That's not just Republicans. That's a majority of the country saying woke politics hurt Democrats. Another poll showed voters trust Republicans more on the economy, immigration, and crime. Those are the issues that decide elections. Democrats lost the fundamentals. Maher also touched on the media problem. He said legacy outlets like The View are losing credibility because they're partisan cheerleaders, not journalists. Younger voters get news from podcasters and influencers who don't talk down to them. Joe Rogan reaches more people than CNN. Democrats haven't adapted. They're still running 20th century campaigns in a 21st century media environment, and they're getting destroyed. So what should Democrats do? Maher's advice is clear. First, stop with identity politics. Voters care about policy, not demographics. Second, ditch the woke baggage. Most Americans reject far-left social positions. Third, talk to voters like adults. Stop lecturing. Start listening. Fourth, fix the basics. Education, economy, public safety. Win on those and voters will forgive other stuff. Fifth, be patriots. Love the country you want to lead. Sixth, repudiate the crazies. Make it clear the far left doesn't run the party. And finally, find better candidates. Harris wasn't a good candidate. Maher said it. Most Democrats know it. They need someone who can connect with working-class voters, not just college-educated elites. But here's the problem. Democrats probably won't do any of that, because the people with power in the party are the exact woke activists Maher is criticizing. They run the nonprofits. They staff the campaigns. They dominate the primaries. And they enforce ideological purity. Any Democrat who tries Maher's approach will get canceled before they get anywhere. So the party stays trapped in a doom loop. Lose elections, blame voters, move further left, lose again. Maher sees this. That's why he's been so blunt. He's not trying to help Republicans. He's trying to save his own party from itself. But they won't listen. They think he's the problem, not the solution. They'd rather feel morally superior in defeat than compromise for victory. And that attitude guarantees more losses. The real tragedy is that Maher's diagnosis is correct. Polling confirms it. Election results prove it. Even some Democratic leaders admit it privately. Senator Mark Warner said the party's brand is really bad, and the ideological purity is a recipe for disaster. Former Congressman Tim Ryan said Democrats are out of touch with working people. Pete Buttigieg admitted the party is too prone to finger-wagging. They all know, but knowing isn't enough. Change requires courage, and Democrats don't have it. So here's where we are. Maher exposed the truth. Democrats are doomed not because voters are stupid or bigoted, but because Democrats stopped representing regular people. They became the party of college professors, Hollywood celebrities, and nonprofit activists. Those groups don't reflect America. And until Democrats rebuild a working-class coalition, they'll keep losing. The data doesn't lie. The voters don't lie. Only Democrats lie. To themselves. And that's why Maher's message stings. Because deep down, they know he's right. This isn't Bill Maher turning on Democrats. It's Bill Maher refusing to go down with the ship. He's the guy pointing at the iceberg while the band plays on. And Democrats are calling him the problem. If you felt uncomfortable reading this because you're liberal, ask yourself why. Does the truth hurt more than losing? Hit subscribe for the analysis that cuts through party lines. Drop your honest take in the comments, and share this with anyone still pretending the 2024 loss was a fluke. Reality doesn't care about your feelings. It just keeps score.